I'd like to explore some of the special purpose materials now. I'll start with Advanced Lighting Override at the top. This uses a submaterial. This works kind of like a wrapper, and you can see that in the navigator. It wraps the base material, which in this case is a standard material. Advanced Lighting Override is used with the radiosity renderer, and it gives physical properties to a standard material. If you're using radiosity, you should display reflectance and transmittance information in the editor. You can do that under Preferences, Radiosity, check here. Now in the material editor, you'll see this information. And these areas have to do with physical properties of the material. You can override those properties here. So values of 1 don't do anything. Let's say I want to decrease the reflectance scale by half. As I do that, the overall reflectance is updated. So the reflectance is actually set by the diffuse color in the base material, and this is like a modifier of that. You would only ever use this material type if you're doing a radiosity rendering. And again, I'll cover that in the rendering module. So moving on, let's take a look at the Lightscape material. This works in much the same way, functioning as a wrapper. There's a base material, which is a standard material, and this gives special information to the material that can be used with Lightscape, which is a separate product that I don't believe is sold any longer. Many years ago, it was the genesis of radiosity in the mainstream, and since that time, radiosity has really grown, and eventually it became part of the core in Max and Viz. So the chances that you need to use this are pretty slim nowadays. There's also a DirectX shader, and this is used for a real-time game engine. And again, it works like a wrapper. It has a base material down here. And the idea here is that the DirectX shader can be displayed in real time in the viewport. And this can be useful if you're doing a walkthrough visualization with a game engine. The morpher is only available in Max, and it allows you to morph between different materials. And it's pretty unlikely that you'll need to use this in AEC. It's more useful for morphing between materials in a character model, for example. The shell material you've seen before, and this is automatically generated by the render to texture feature. It's useful when you bake a normal map into the bump component. You're seeing a couple of V-Ray materials here because I have this third-party renderer installed. Notice that we're also seeing maps here. You can filter the list to show just what you want. If you show incompatible, you'll see all the materials, whether or not they work with the current renderer. Now we're seeing materials that work with Mental Ray, which I'll cover in the rendering module, and there's also some V-Ray materials that were otherwise hidden. So to keep things simple, I recommend that you uncheck incompatible. and just show materials or maps so that you can select from a shorter list. I'll be covering the other material types in due course.